about the opposition back home as well. It's all about securing domestic brownie points. As the Prime Minister met the President of Cyprus, a historic ally of India that has been with India in its important times, the Congress party has mocked it as a meeting with a country the size of a Delhi neighborhood. In fact, Deepak Khatri, the national coordinator of the Congress social media and digital platforms, implies that the Prime Minister's visit to a country like Cyprus is nothing but a photo op, as PR matters more than the population. Listen into what the Indian envoy to Cyprus had to say.
It has been a great friend of India in the India-EU context, and all of you know that it will take over the presidency of EU the 1st January 2026. And once we conclude the India-EU FTA, we are in the process of finalizing this document by end of the year. So it gets implemented during Cyprus presidency.
So let's put things in perspective and talk about why Cyprus is very crucial to India and why Cyprus is a friend to India. Now, let's talk about how it's a small nation. Yes, what the Congress party has said is true. It's a small nation, but it comes with big benefits and it comes with being a true friend of India in the tough times. So let's talk about why this is significant. Cyprus, in fact, has always taken a pro-India stance. It has supported the nuclear tests back in 1998. So it's been a long-time ally of India. It backed India's candidature at the UNSC as well. And with India during the Indo-Pak crisis as well. So while the crisis was going on, Cyprus was one nation that stood very clearly with India. And it also has a message. The Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus also has a message for Turkey. So, it has been in a conflict with Turkey since 1974. And the Prime Minister's visit is also a strategic signal to Turkey, which had aided Pakistan in the Operation Sindoor. Remember, while Operation Sindoor was going on, Pakistan was attacking India. It was Turkey that stood by Pakistan, providing military aid as well. So it has been in conflict with Turkey. So this is also going to be a very significant message that the Prime Minister is giving to Turkey. And apart from that, as far as trade is concerned as well, Cyprus is a member of the European Union. So it will be holding the EU presidency in 2026 as well. So it's very significant at a time when India wants stronger ties with Europe. And then, of course, there are going to be talks. So the Prime Minister, of course, apart from being in Cyprus, he is also going to be holding talks with Canada, as well as Trump sharing the table during the G7 summit. While this year's G7 summit, in fact, focuses on energy security and the two wars that are going on, all eyes in the country are also going to be in the meeting between Prime Minister Modi as well as Mark Carney. Remember, the ties between India and Canada had seen a complete deterioration under Justin Trudeau after he accused the Indian government of involvement in the Khalistani Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing in Canada. This was a charge that New Delhi had denied, calling it absurd. In fact, Trudeau was unable to provide any evidence whatsoever for these accusations as well, and had dragged Canada into this standoff with India repeatedly. And the two countries had an intense diplomatic showdown as well. Now the visit of the Prime Minister, Modi, after almost 1.5 years of these strained ties, could serve as a key opportunity to reset these strained bilateral relationship between the two nations. The Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, had also mentioned that it makes sense to have the Indian Prime Minister at the G7 table.
So let's put two aspects in context. First is we are in the role, Canada is in the role of the G7 chair, and in those discussions, as agreed with our G7 colleagues, include important discussions on energy security, on digital future, critical minerals, amongst others, and partnerships actually in building infrastructure in the emerging and developing world. There are certain countries that should be at the table for those discussions, and in my capacity as G7 chair, in consultation with others, some others, make those determinations. India, the 5th largest economy in the world, effectively the most populous country in the world, central to a number of those supply chains at the heart part of a number of those supply chains, so it makes sense. And in addition, bilaterally, we have now agreed, importantly, to continued law enforcement dialogue. So there's been some progress on that. It recognizes issues of accountability. I extended the invitation to Prime Minister Modi in that context, and he has accepted.
Senior consulting editor Srinjoy Chaudhary is on the broadcast with us on the significance of the Prime Minister's visit, the three-nation visit, and more importantly, the G7 summit as well. Well, Srinjoy, a very important meeting comes at a time when there are two wars that only seem to be worsening by the day. The Prime Minister is going to be at the same table discussing what next. And of course, all eyes are also going to be on the meeting that he has with the new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, isn't it? What can be expected?
Well, before that, you're right. When Prime Minister goes to Cyprus, it's a clear message to Turkey. And is a deliberate message to Turkey. Because in the past, Prime Minister has gone to Greece. The Greek Prime Minister, Mr. Mitsotakis, has come to India. And now Prime Minister is going to Cyprus. As far as the G7 is concerned, you're right. This is an attempt to mend relations with the Canadians, because too much has happened with the previous Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who did not appear to be have any intention of having a good relation with India. But Prime Minister Carney appears to be in a sensible frame of mind as far as India is concerned. He has invited Prime Minister Modi, and there is going to be a bilateral. This is the first time Carney and Modi are going to meet, and hopefully it will be a very good meeting. It will set aside all the problems that India and Canada have been having. 3 other important meetings are being looked at. There is already a decision to have a bilateral meeting with the Italian Prime Minister, Prime Minister Meloni. That will be on the 17th. Canadian time. Prime Minister will also meet most likely the German Chancellor. And again, this is the first meeting they are going to have. But we are looking at a possibility of a meeting with the US President. It has not been announced as yet, but there is clearly work going on the sidelines. And this could well be another important meeting. So a lot has to be done in Canada. Meetings with Carney, with Meloni, with Merz, and possibly Donald Trump as well.
Okay, all right. So in the coming hours, those are updates expected from the G7 meeting, and the Prime Minister is meeting President Trump. It's going to be very interesting because this comes at a time when Trump has also mentioned time and again that he had brokered truce between India and Pakistan with trade talks, something that has come up in the politics in the country as well time and again. Srinjoy, for the moment, thank you for joining us with those details. In fact, the recent overtures from both sides show very clearly signs of a thaw and willingness to mend what has gone wrong. We're talking about India and Canada. In the latest reports as well, the two sides have decided to share intel on terrorism. But the opposition leaders in India say that the invite that was extended to the Prime Minister was a conditional one because Canada will bring up Niger, and therefore it was inappropriate to even accept this invitation. The BJP has called it the opposition's compulsive criticism on any issue whatsoever.
Our government has tried to collect this invitation, and only after that Prime Minister of Canada has extended this invitation with certain conditions. Now Canada will talk to our Prime Minister regarding that person, I don't remember his name, who was killed according to Canada government by our government. So such kind of invitation is not proper at all.
अब दोनों आमने सामने होंगे. प्रधानमंत्री जी भारत की प्रतिष्ठा के लिए, सेना के मान सम्मान के लिए दृढ़ता दिखाइए और कहिए सार्वजनिक रूप से वहां ट्रंप से कि ये सीजफायर हम दोनों ने किया है, आपने फोर्स करके या ट्रेड की लालच देके नहीं.
जो वार मोदी जी ने शुरू किया था जैसा मोदी जी का कहना है, वो औरतें प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प ने मोदी को रुकवाने के लिए दबाव डाला। अब मोदी कनाडा गए हैं, साइप्रस गए हैं, क्रोएशिया, वहां जाकर वो प्रवचन देंगे।
कांग्रेस पार्टी बयान दे रही थी कि G7 की मीटिंग में नहीं बुलाया। अब G7 की मीटिंग में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को बुलाया गया है। G7 की मीटिंग हो और बिना भारत के हो जाए, ये आज भारत की शान है। तो कांग्रेस पार्टी अपने ही सवालों में उलझ गई है। अब जब नहीं जा रहे थे, चर्चा नहीं थी कि जाएंगे कि नहीं, तब आलोचना कर रही थी। अब जा रहे हैं तो बधाई नहीं दे रही, उल्टा तंज कर रही है।
So the criticism and the politics back home continues, but what's going to be important is what comes out of the meetings that will be taking place in Canada. But for the moment, let's shift our attention